Welcome back to the Knowledge Catalog. This is still the series for grade 9 biology. We're still in the biological sciences, and we're about actually to finish the first unit with this module number 4. This is still going to be about learning competency number 6, which is to differentiate basic features and importance of photosynthesis and respiration. If your learner's module is beside you, you may open it in Unit 1, Module 3, pages 4 to 7. If you are a Science 9 teacher in the Philippines and you want to have a copy, you wish to have a copy of this presentation na ginamit ko for this video lesson, you may message me through my Facebook page at facebook.com/knowledge catalog/. The link is right here. Okay, so for this video, let's begin. This is the classic 3 parts. These are the classic 3 parts of our videos. And I am giving you this warning that I will be trying my best to simplify the discussions and at the same time, still touch the most important parts of the concepts na kailangan ma-discuss. And also recognize that I have Science 9 students. I have grade 9 students. So I will be doing my best then to turn this discussion into something that they will understand. So in the process, if there are anything na nasabi ko na parang masyadong basic or perhaps you think are wrong, you can always put those comments in our comment section. Okay, and then I will be correcting that concept through my asynchronous discussions with them or through the description of this video. I will be putting some notes. Okay, so ayun, just like journalists kasi, Sir CJ here is quite on a time constraint on finishing these video lessons and I would like to share them too with a lot of teachers. Pero syempre, we cannot sacrifice the quality of these videos. Help me out in improving these videos. So for the first part, we will be discussing light-dependent reaction. For the second part of this discussion, we will be discussing light-independent reaction, which is also known as dark reaction or Calvin cycle. And then for the third part, we will be having an activity about the structures involved in the food-making process in plants. Let's begin. I would like you to look at this model, this diagram. Yeah, this illustration. And take note of the following. So these yellow circles na merong gray lines right here, a pair of gray lines, they represent a phospholipid bilayer. Okay? A phospholipid bilayer means this is a membrane. A membrane of what? Ganito. This is the stroma, chloroplast stroma. Ibig sabihin, this is the space outside of what? Outside of a thylakoid. So remember in our previous discussion, a thylakoid is a disc-like structure and it has a lumen. Ibig sabihin, sa loob niya, itong si thylakoid lumen. Tapos, the thylakoid has this phospholipid bilayer, this membrane, separates the lumen, the luminar space, from the stroma, which is a space outside the thylakoid, but it's still inside the chloroplast. Okay, so first things first. Again, the thylakoid lumen is right here, the chloroplast stroma is right there. They are separated by a phospholipid bilayer. And in this phospholipid bilayer, merong mga naka-embed na mga to. Okay, so this is a cytochrome, this is a PS2. It's a photosystem 2. Tapos this is plastoquinone. This one is cytochrome. And then this is PS1, which is photosystem 1. And then meron tayong ferredoxin dito na merong reducing agent. Okay, it's ferredoxin NADP reductase. And then, it's an agent, it's an enzyme. Okay, that is how we refer to it. And then the last one is the ATP synthase. Okay, so you're familiar with these parts na? Okay na? Alright, now let's proceed. The first thing we need to remember na lang is we go from the left towards the right, and then sometimes you also go back to the center and then finish the discussion. So just keep up. Okay, so PS2, dito muna tayo, PS2. Or photosystem 2. In photosystem 2, there will be a water molecule, which is H2O. Ayan, water molecule that will be processed. Okay, processed na lang yung term natin by photosystem 2 so that it will turn into oxygen, which is a byproduct, and it will release electrons for the PS2 or photosystem 2. Okay, so in the process of turning hydrogen into oxygen, it will be losing electrons to the photosystem 2. Now, the photosystem 2 it is green because it has chlorophyll. So the chlorophyll in this photosystem 2 is going to catch light from the sun. Remember, only red and blue light will be absorbed by the chlorophyll. So the chlorophyll will be using that light for the entire process. Now, how does it do that? It's through this. So, itatrap niya yung light, and then because it traps more light and more light and more light, it will be agitating or exciting these electrons, and then they will be transported by a they will be transported muna by a chlorophyll reaction center. Okay, so it's also chlorophyll pigment. It's also chlorophyll molecule, but it has the ability to transport electrons out of PS2 towards a plastoquinone, which is a protein in this phospholipid bilayer. Okay? So, na-agitate na yung electron because of the light, and then napunta na yung electrons dun sa chlorophyll reaction center. Tapos, tinransport siya palabas ng PS2 papunta sa plastoquinone, a protein, towards the cytochrome. Now, this cytochrome is also found embedded in this phospholipid bilayer. And what does it do? Upon the arrival of the electron in the cytochrome, that will be attracting hydrogen ion, okay, from the stroma towards the cytochrome, papasok sa thylakoid lumen. That is serving a particular purpose for concentration gradient. So, hindi naman pwedeng labas ng labas ang hydrogen. Okay? So, ang hydrogen kasi, lalabas siya mamaya. Okay? So, ngayon, dito, ang action na to is papasok. Okay? So, papasok dito ang hydrogen for concentration gradient. Bakit siya pumasok? It's because of the presence of electrons in this cytochrome. Now, this cytochrome is going to transport through another protein that is found near the membrane. So, hindi siya naka-embed sa mismong membrane. Naka-attach lang siya dito. Near the membrane, this is much like a transduction pathway, plastocyanin. It will be getting that electron transported to photosystem 1. Okay, so the excited electron that was transported to cytochrome allowed the absorption of hydrogen ions. And now, because of that, dahil nangyari yun, nag-lower yung energy ni electron. Ngayon, si plastocyanin, kukunin niya si low energy electron, dadalhin sa photosystem 1, okay, para ma-activate siya ulit. Remember, photosystem 2 has the ability to capture light because it has chlorophyll. Ganun din si photosystem 1. Meron din siyang chlorophyll 2 that will enable it to capture light, and it will be exciting that particular electron. Now, what will it do? It will be facilitating it will be facilitated by ferrodoxin and by an enzyme called ferrodoxin NADP reductase, so that this electron is going to be attached to NADP and turn it into NADPH. Okay, so it will be attached to NADP, allowing it to bind with an H, hydrogen ion, so that NADPH is going to be produced. So this NADPH is the first product of the light-dependent reaction. Okay? Ayan, is this the only thing na mapoproduce? Paano po itong si ATP synthase? Okay, we're about to go there now. So, na-produce na si NADPH. Okay na tayo dyan. Hanggang dyan na muna yung pag-uusapan natin sa part na yan. Now, how about the ATP synthase? So, remember, yung hydrogen na nag-enter sa system through the cytochrome. Okay, so that hydrogen will be inside the thylakoid lumen. Pupunta siya malapit sa ATP synthase. And this hydrogen will be exiting, which allows the phosphorylation of ADP, of adenosine diphosphate, so that it will be turned to adenosine triphosphate. Thus, the name ATP synthase, kasi dito nasysynthesize yung adenosine triphosphate. Paano po siya nasynthesize? Okay, so again, in the thylakoid lumen, may mga free hydrogens na nagpo-flow. Mapupunta sila dito sa to activate it. Lalabas sila ng thylakoid lumen towards the chloroplast stroma. which will facilitate the phosphorylation of ADP with the phosphate, tapos it will be allowing it to become ATP. Okay, so that ends the first part of our discussion for light-dependent reaction. Also, remember that NADPH and ATP are going to be found outside the thylakoid lumen. So, nasa loob pa rin siya ng chloroplast, pero nasa space siya called the stroma. Okay? And in that particular space comes the light-independent reaction or the dark reaction, also known as Calvin's cycle. Okay, so again, the light-independent reaction, dark reaction, or Calvin cycle in this case is the same thing. Okay, so pareho lang siya. So what we need to remember muna before we continue or proceed talking about this process is that the Calvin cycle does not necessarily happen in the dark. Kumbaga, it's only called a dark reaction kasi it can happen even in the absence of sunlight. Okay, kaya siya hindi naman kailangan hintayin muna ang mawala ang sikat ng araw bago siya mag-proceed. Okay, so it can happen. This happens too in the presence of sunlight. Now what happens? Remember that in the stroma, nandoon yan yung ATP at saka yung NADPH na na-produce from the light-dependent reactions. Okay, and the Calvin cycle now is the part kung saan magkakaroon na ng role yung carbon dioxide kasi napansin nyo kanina, yung oxygen is na-produce, tama? Pero this time, pero nasan yung carbon dioxide doon? Nakala ko po ba is kailangan yung carbon dioxide? So, sort of, dahil din-discuss natin yung light-dependent reaction, which is a prerequisite reaction, parang nagmumukha na medyo magulo. Pero actually, we're still here. It's still good, okay? Nauna lang talaga yung byproduct na discuss, which is oxygen, before ang carbon dioxide, which is something that is needed. So for the Calvin cycle, the following are the three divisions of the Calvin cycle. So first is carbon fixation, reduction, and then the regeneration of the RUBP. The ribulose bisphosphate, ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate, yung kanina sa pre-assessment natin, ito siya, okay? Dito siya mag-play ng role. Si carbon dioxide, dito rin siya mag-play ng role. And then dito rin sa process na to, magkakaroon ng production of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or G3P. So, paano yun? Yeah, so, we begin with carbon dioxide fixation or carbon fixation. So, pagsasamahin muna si carbon dioxide, 1 molecule of it, which has 1 carbon atom, isang circle dyan, with ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate, which has 5 carbon atoms and then phosphates sa may magkabilang dulo niya. By doing that, by discussing that, okay, carbon fixation is happening. Again, carbon fixation is the fixing of carbon dioxide by first attaching it or binding it with the ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate so that maging 6 carbon molecule siya. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tas may dalawang phosphates sa magkabilang dulo. Okay, so what happens next is it will rapidly be lysed. Okay, bali, paghihiwalayin yung 6 na carbon atoms in a way na in these 2 resulting molecules will have 3 of those 6 carbon atoms and 1 of those 2 phosphates on end. Okay, so that is carbon fixation. Ngayon, meron tayong dalawa. So, yung 2, meron tayong dalawang piraso ng 3-phosphoglycerate, which is also known as PGA. So, ilang piraso ulit? Dalawa. Okay, so ilang carbon dioxide ulit ang ginamit natin for this first part? Isa lang. Okay, so we were able to produce dalawang piraso ng 3-phosphoglycerate or PGA. Now, what happens next is the process of reduction. For reduction, gagamitin si NADPH at saka si ATP. So, tingnan ninyo na meron siyang dalawang ATP, dalawang NADPH kasi tag-isa yung dalawang piraso na to. So, one of these is going to use one of these and one of these. Tapos, meron pang isa. So, kakailangan pa niyang isa. So, isa pa. Okay? So, kaya dalawang NADPH yan, saka dalawang ATP. Ngayon, anong mangyayari? So, ATP is going to phosphorylate or is going to transfer one of its phosphates to each of these molecules. Okay, turning it into adenosine diphosphate. Okay, before we continue, nasan yung ATP? Nawala na. Okay, naging ADP na yung molecule kasi nag-lose na siya ng isang phosphate. Kaya from triphosphate, naging diphosphate. Saan pupunta yung adenosine diphosphate? Okay, it will be going near the ATP synthase para magkaroon siya ulit ng isa pang extra phosphate through a process called phosphorylation facilitated by the ATP synthase with the help of hydrogen. Very good. Okay, so now, itong dalawang molecules na to, okay, anong mangyayari sa kanya? This is what you call as 1 and 3 bisphosphoglycerate. Okay, so bisphosphoglycerate na yung tawag sa kanya. It's 1,3 bisphosphoglycerate kasi yung binding is found in the first and the third carbon atom. Now, what happens here is that yung NADPH is going to do this very quick this very quick taking up of phosphate. So, ang NADPH, pupunta siya to each of those two molecules, tapos magiging NADP plus siya. Tapos, ano mangyayari? Maglulus ang mga molecules na yun, ang dalawang molecules na yun, ng tagi-isa nilang phosphate. So, makikita mo dito, merong isang free phosphate for each of those two molecules. So, ilang piraso ng glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate or G3P ang meron tayo? We have 2 pieces. So, meron tayong 2 piraso of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Ayan. So, now, kailangan mangyayari yung process ulit. So, merong isang bagong ribulose bisphosphate na magbabind with a new carbon dioxide, kaya naging dalawa na yun, para mangyari ulit yung process na yun. So, ATP magiging 4 na, yung NADPH magiging 4 na rin yung magiging mga products nila, which is ADP, 4 na NADP+, at saka 4 na phosphates. Tapos, yung magiging end product is magiging 4 na rin. Now, meron pang isang carbon dioxide na mag-enter sa system, that is going to be binded with another ribulose bisphosphate. So, 3 na yung carbon dioxide, 3 na rin yung mga nagamit na ribulose bisphosphate. Tapos, yung ATP magiging 6 na. ADP 6, NADPH 6. Okay, tapos yung NADP plus 6. Tapos yung magiging phosphate na free, 6 na rin. Okay. Tapos yung magiging G3P natin ay magiging 6. Now, what happened here? Kapag naging 6 na sila, magpo-proceed na tayo with the regeneration of ribulose bisphosphate. Paano yun? Yung 6 na G3P, ganito, yung 5 sa kanila, magbabalik dito sa cycle. Yung isa naman sa kanila is mapupunta dito sa end. Okay, in this end way. So, parang palabas na siya ng cycle. So, ano mangyayari? The glyceraldehyde, yung G3P, okay, is going to, 5 of these is going to, is going to react with 3 ATPs. Okay, so, but before that, ang mangyayari muna is, yung 5 ito, yung 5 G3P na nandito, ay, it will be losing 2 phosphate. So, okay, ganito, let's slow down. Kung 5 itong piraso ng G3P dito, ilan in total yung carbon atoms? How many? 15. Okay, that's 1,5. Ngayon, kung 5 yung piraso na to, ilan yung total number of phosphates? You have 5. Now, tanggalin mo yung 2 phosphates na yon. Okay, so, ilan na lang matitirang phosphate? You will only have 3. So, ibig sabihin nun, yung 2 sa mga G3Ps, wala ng phosphate. Yung 3, meron pa silang phosphate. Now, what happens next is, mayroong pupunta na ATP, magsusupply ng bagong phosphates. Okay? Ilang phosphates ang isusupply? Remember, isang ATP, magsusupply ng isang phosphate. So, anong mangyayari? Since meron kang 3, okay, yung kanina, 5, naging 3, ngayon, magiging 6. Okay. So, now, how many phosphates do you have in total? You have 6. Okay. You have 6. And then, how many carbon atoms do you have? You have 15. Right? Now, think of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of these ribulose bisphosphate must have 5 carbon atoms and 2 phosphates in them. Okay, how many phosphates do you have? 6. So pwedeng 1, 2, 1, 2, and another one, 1, 2. Now, ilan ng mga carbon atoms na meron ka? 15. Okay, so ilang pwede mong magawang ribulose bisphosphate? By doing that, you can have 3 ribulose bisphosphates. Ayan. So, meron tayong 3 ribulose, 1 5-bisphosphate. Okay, so pwede yung mga yan na mag-bind ulit with a new set of carbon dioxide. So, remember, 3 ito na nakapag-produce ng isang glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. 3 carbon dioxides, isang glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Ngayon, ang mangyayari is merong bagong 3 na carbon dioxides na papasok sa system na magbabind dun din sa 3 ribulose bisphosphate para makaproduce pa ng isa pang glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate para hindi naman mag-isa itong si glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dito. Okay, so again, these are going to just go back to the process. Now, say for instance, natapos na yung process na yon, meron ng 6 na carbon dioxide na in total, nag-react dun sa Calvin's cycle. And then meron na rin nagamit na 6 na enzymes, which is, I hope na na-gets nyo rin, hindi naman talaga siya nawala. Kumbaga, na-recycle lang siya, na-regenerate lang siya. And let's say na meron na tayong 2 G3P dito, okay, after the cycle of 6 carbon dioxides. Now, what happens here is makapag-form na siya ng glucose phosphate. Okay, so glucose phosphate has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon, 6 hydrogen, 12. Tapos we have here an oxygen, glucose phosphate. Okay, and then it's going to bind with another glucose by the removal of a phosphate so that ma-produce ang sucrose. So say for instance, this monomer of a carbohydrate is also a fructose. Makapag-produce tayo ng sucrose. Remember, glucose plus fructose is equal to sucrose. And tapos ang mga sugars na to, they will be just forming their own, their own chain para magkaroon ng carbohydrate chain. Okay, and that is going to be a really complicated chain because it's starch na. Okay. Now, I would like to thank MLB Alchem World or yung naging source ng ating visuals for this video. I would like to thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I hope that I gave you due credit for your very good work. This is going to be used by public school students in the Philippines, Science 9, particularly in Learning Science 9. Out of all the videos that are available online, I actually viewed your one of your videos. One of your video is one of the most helpful ones. So students, if you're listening, I will be leaving a link to the video that is a complete explanation of the process. I just what I did here in this video is ginamit ko lang yung ating mother language, which is Filipino, para mas maintindihan niyo siya. Hopefully, para mas maintindihan niyo yung process. So that ends our light independent reaction discussion, direct reaction or Calvin cycle. My dog is quite noisy na. Let's proceed with the last part. This is an activity, and I hope that you can see it clearly. This is task A. The title of the activity is, what are the structures involved in the food-making process in plants? Notice that we have here numbers in boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7. And what you need to do is as simple as this. Just label them. Okay, so sana all may label. Okay, so if you want to pause this video so that you would be having ample time, pause this video and then label them properly. On your extra sheets of clean paper or on your notebooks, label them 1 to 7. You may now start. If you have decided to continue, that means you are done with this task A. Now let's proceed with task B. Same thing, okay, you still have things to label. As you can see, meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So what you need to do is on your sheet of clean paper, label your word task B, numbers 1 to 8. And then just write the name of the part of the chloroplast that is being pointed at. If you want to have more time, just pause this video. If you have decided to continue, that means you are ready for the next task. Task C is regarding photosynthesis. So what you need to do is you need to list down the materials, raw materials for photosynthesis, and the products of photosynthesis. As simple as that. Just because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows or cells in here under materials, raw materials, it doesn't mean you need to fill them up. Okay, I just gave you enough space to use. Alright, so take your time. If you need more time, just pause this video. If you have decided to continue, we can now check your work. Okay, for task, no, I'm so sorry. Okay, I forgot about this. This is task D. Okay, just label it task D. So we have here the sun. What you need to do is yung classic na ginagawa natin for concept maps. Okay, you just have to fill in the parts of the concept map na walang concept or walang words. Okay, fill them in with the proper words. So the sun here is pointing at photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is pointing at light reaction. A circle, an oval, is pointing to light reaction, and an arrow from light reaction points at a circle. And then under light reaction, there are 2 arrows pointing to 2 separate boxes. And then this oval right here is pointing at this particular box or rectangle, or perhaps these 2 boxes. And these 2 boxes in turn are pointing to Calvin cycle. And Calvin cycle, lastly, is pointing at this oval, towards this oval that is also empty. What you need to do now is remember what is photosynthesis and think of the relationship of these boxes and these circles with each other. Again, think of the relationship of these boxes with each other. You may pause this video for you to have more time. If you have decided to continue, that means you are ready. Okay, so we will be giving you the answers for the questions na lang in our next video lesson. Pero one thing is for sure, we were done in this video discussing light-dependent reaction. We're also done discussing the dark reaction or Calvin cycle, which is also termed as light-independent reaction. And we're also through doing activity number 1, what are the structures involved in the food-making process in plants? We are not going to answer the questions muna for activity 1 kasi baka magkaroon ka ng information overload. So just stay tuned and watch the next video related to this activity. So I hope that I will see you in the next video. The Knowledge Catalog is a brand being developed by a teacher-creator, yours truly, Sir CJ. I am a high school teacher in the Philippines and I love developing content that I find useful and needed to better my instruction. If you want to show some support to me and for the work that I am doing, you can like this video, leave a positive comment in our comment section. I appreciate comments really, and I would as much as possible really want to respond to the comments. Kasi syempre, ang konti na nga lang naman nagko-comments, hindi pa ba ako mag-comment, hindi pa ba ako magre-respond, diba? I thank you for supporting this kind of content I am producing, I am creating. If you want to extend your support by subscribing to this channel, it won't hurt to click on that subscribe button, and I hope that I helped you enough for you to deserve your subscription, and then you can also click on that bell button so that you would be receiving notifications when I upload this kind of stuff, this kind of sort of content that I am really fond of creating. Alright, so I hope I'll see you in the next video, especially in the next video in this series. Have a good day and please keep safe.